Hey, I'm Rob. You're going to be listening to a video where I talk about Runescape for a while wandering about town. It's going to be in pretty low quality, it's going to be terribly edited, and I apologize in advance.
The other day, on a whim, I don't know where to start and end this story, so I guess I'll start where it chronologically started happening for me. RuneScape stuff. I've been playing RuneScape since I was in like 4th grade, so 8-ish, 9, since I was like 9 years old, and I'm going to be turning 23 in a month. So 14 years that I've been playing this accursed game, and I've had 2 of these accounts for at least a decade, and they're both in the original format of username, password, and then the screen name changes, but those usernames are dead set in my mind. Those are the 2 accounts that I use the most. I then have 3. I then have 2 other accounts that have authenticators on them. Oh, that's where I'm getting into this. So I have the 2 accounts that I know dead set by heart, then 2 accounts I made after they switched from username as your login credential to email as your login credential. So I instead use the email to sign into those. And I tend to forget which one's which because I don't play on them that often, and they don't immediately show you the username of them when you go into account settings. But I have the authenticator set up on those 2 also. I have a 3rd account that was set up in the email format. So a 5th account, but a 3rd one in the email format, which I don't remember which email I'm using, and I'm gonna have to figure that out soon, because I think that's my hardcore Iron Man account, and if there's a breach, I'd rather it be protected by an authenticator. But anyway, I have the authenticator on all 4 of these accounts. And on a whim, I decided that I was going to play on one of the accounts I don't normally play on. So I type in the credentials, I try and log in, get the wrong password, try a different password, wrong password, try a different password, wrong password. Okay, forgotten password, let me reset this through the email. So I changed the password and I try and log in. Something went wrong when I typed in the authenticator. That might have been what it was. At some point it was wrong password, and at some other point it was just something went wrong, we don't know what. So I'm trying the authenticator. I'm sure this is the account that the authenticator is hooked up to, but the authenticator doesn't give you the email. It gives you the username of the account, which you don't see anywhere with the account itself unless you dig through settings to find like the authenticator. So I'm like, okay, yes, I'm trying to log in with my school email rather than my personal email, and here's the authenticator. Something went wrong, something went wrong, something went wrong. Change the password. Something went wrong. Try to change the password again. Your account has been locked. They didn't like that I was changing the password twice. Now, I think that never occurred to me. I was so sure that it was the one authenticator I was supposed to be using. Turns out it was the other one. Turns out I should have been using authenticator number 4, not authenticator number 3. But I was a little annoyed with myself and my silliness at the time. So I gave up on it at the time. I didn't really feel like wrestling with them to unlock my account and get things fixed again until last night, because this all happened like a week or 2 ago. Until last night, when my whole family decided we were switching our phones, and so I needed to transfer things, and there was a lease out on my old phone, and we're trying to return it today, so I needed to have everything off of my old phone, including my authenticators, so Steam and the RuneScape stuff, basically, a couple other things. But those were the big ones that came to mind that I knew I had something to do directly from the phone. So Steam gets transferred over. Transfer over my two main Runescapes, my old ones. And then I go to try and do the other two. So when I'm trying to transfer the other two, I remember, oh, I'm locked out of the one account, so I need to unlock it again. That actually wasn't too hard. It was an email confirmation, password reset, which was what I was trying to do anyway at the time. I need to unlock my account, which I locked the other week, which actually wasn't too hard, reset password. And then I went to disable the Authenticator. And the web server for the game was like, hey, you're changing too much stuff with your account. Like, there's too much stuff going on from your address right now, so we've locked you out of managerial tasks like that. On the bright side, I don't actually need the Authenticator to disable the Authenticator. Like, that one's a streamlined one. If I were having more issues with Steam, that would be a huge problem. Steam went relatively smoothly. But I reset my phone and I make notes for myself to disable and re-enable the authenticators, because otherwise I'm just not going to be able to get in because they're just from the old phone. And it's something that I didn't want to forget about and have to do months and months later. So it gave me this message that, no, you can't do that anymore right now. So I tried to do the other account and it's like, no, and gave me a nice little CAPTCHA, select all of the pictures of storefronts or whatever, or street signs, street lights. I got a couple of those CAPTCHAs from the server that day because, well, I was doing a lot of account migration. But at the same time, I guess it's nice to know that if someone's trying to steal accounts, they could only do like 2 every 12 hours. Like, they can't transfer that much stuff from their own IP. Sure, they could VPN and do stuff, but like, the VPNs probably get eaten up really quickly unless they're private VPNs. And if they're private VPNs, they're going to need a lot of them to keep stealing accounts. And the question becomes, is it worth that price? I don't know. But presumably they're gated to only a couple a day. Tor, I'd imagine they wouldn't like you doing things through Tor either. But you know, some reassurance that they're a pain with the disabling of authenticators. They do need to be in my email to do it. So I had to wait till this morning. So I wiped the old phone and made sure to do this stuff this morning, and lo and behold, I was able to get back inside. And the whole reason I think that I got booted out of Authenticator disabling was because I had to do the password recovery stuff. I think if I did in the other order, it would have just been the one account left over. Password authenticators. Account two-factor authentication. Extremely effective if done well. I should probably add two-factor auth to my emails as well.
To conclude this RuneScape and Authenticator related rant, just make sure that you use your two-factor authenticators where you can. Plan ahead if you're going to be switching phones, because it's going to take you longer than you expect to switch all the authenticators over. It's usually not too much trouble. There are ways to get around the authenticator, usually in the event that you've lost your phone or something, but it's just easier to have everything prepared in advance. When you're using these authenticators, especially if you have multiple accounts for the same service, just make sure you know which authenticator reference goes to which account. I could have saved myself a lot of trouble if I kept better track of my random alt accounts that I don't really use too often. I would have saved myself quite the headache. And honestly, if they just used the username as the display for all phases of the authentication process, it would be so much easier to follow the flow of things. There are points where it's like, hey, you're resetting the password for an account of this level. It's like, that's free to play? It's like, is that you? I mean, like, yeah, I think so. Both of them are low level and free to play. They're free to play, so they're not on the high scores. There's no real way for me to back it up and confirm things, cross-reference it. So it's just like, yeah, this is totally the account. I was wrong. I'm just dumb. But, yeah, I gotta keep better track of them.
So it all started when I was born. There used to be more of a path here. This has grown back in. Hey, Pooch. I just assumed that path would still be there. I find it interesting that like half of it was still trampled, but half of it is regrown back. Neat. The game told me and they don't like that. Unless I have a nice sized botnet for VPNs. Yeet. Was because I had to do
Two-Factor Authentication, saving lives.